keratotomy? Oh my gosh, there's somebody as old as I am. No, I'm going to. So what they would do is they would make an incision 3/4 depth into the cornea and allow it to scar it down. The contraction of the myofibroblasts would flatten the cornea, but would change the corneal curvature. It's really kind of primitive, but many people did this. I talked to some of the surgeons who did this procedure. I was like, how do you know? Did you ever perforate the cornea? He said, no, I never perforated the cornea. How do you know? I never see aqueous. You'll never see aqueous because the wound will heal itself. It will absorb fluid. Is that okay? Okay, so this is normal, and it just exaggerates the keratoconus. Now, if I were to show you only keratoconus, I would not be earning any respect from you because it's a simple case. So instead, I want to share this with you. Take this Descemet's membrane and trace it forward, and it curls. Take this Descemet's membrane and trace it forward, and it curls. So, what happens is the Descemet's membrane is under great tension. You see, I can make it like this. When Descemet's membrane ruptures, it curls up. If this had happened in an infant eye, right, the rupture of Descemet's membrane, then the endothelium would have secreted additional Descemet's membrane. This is how we get Descemet's membrane scrolls. That's part of the pathogenesis of Hauptstria in congenital glaucoma, or the Descemet's membrane scrolls that you can find, and we don't see this fortunately anymore, in forceps injury to the cornea. Yeah, obstetricians now know how to avoid getting this injury. So this rupture of Descemet's membrane happened. Now, how acute is the rupture of Descemet's membrane here? Hydrops, yes. But was this an acute hydrops? Do you usually do a penetrating keratoplasty immediately after hydrops? No, you wait for a while. How do we know that this is not acute hydrops? Any ideas? Because the cornea centrally is thin, and the other reason that you know that it is not an acute hydrops is you have the scarring over it. Do you see the scarring? Yeah. If this were acute, you wouldn't have the scarring. What happens to the cone after a hydrops and scarring? It flattens. Do you understand the pathophysiology now of the flattening? You get the fibrosis? Yes? Let me ask you a different question to do this, because let's have a discussion about this for a moment. Sometimes I will see a cornea of keratoconus, and what I see in the pathology of this, by the way, just to take a break, one of the nice ways about teaching in this style, you don't plan to say anything, but the students ask you your study partners, right? Yechavuta asks you a question, and you have to respond to it. So you just stimulated something in my imagination. Suppose I saw collagen that was homogeneously eosinophilic. Now, the pathologist will understand what I'm talking about. I will say this is a cautery effect. A cautery effect. And sometimes in a keratoconus cornea, I will see cautery provided superficially. I don't know if anybody does this in Israel. Sometimes it is done in the States. On the table to flatten the cornea so that you can get the trephine around it. What is the thought process? Why cauterize the cornea acutely before doing a PK? Any ideas? Yeah, so when you heat the cornea, what happens to the collagen? It contracts. When I teach this in the United States, I say if you put a strip of, it's funny coming from me, if you put a strip of bacon in a pan, yes, and you fry it, the bacon contracts. The strips of bacon contract. Right? Because you're heating collagen. Physiologically, collagen doesn't contract. I'm sorry? I know people here don't understand it, but that's why I'm saying it, because I don't understand it either. Nobody understands it. Doesn't matter. It contracts. Look, I don't eat this stuff either. So look, here's the deal. But it contracts it just enough to get the treef to flatten it. So here, after the hydrops, you can see what happened. The cornea became scarred, and it flattened because the scar came in, it contracted, and it flattened the cornea. This is for a bonus point. And then I will tell you, any of the residents that makes this observation, does it correctly, you should give another prize. It's okay? It's motivation. So I open this to the residents from all the programs all over Israel. Can anybody give me, I will even give you a hint. And if we don't have a prize, you just do it for the glory. Okay. You have a prize? Maybe a Diet Coke, something like this. Okay. He has another prize. Okay. On the screen is, no, it's okay. On the screen is another clue to the fact that this is not acute eye drops. Does anybody see it? And if not, I'm willing to give you one clue. But first, somebody take an idea. Yes, sir. There was a hand raised? I am hallucinating. I'm so sorry. There's no, all right, one at a time, one at a time. Yes, the first one? He's not a resident, so he's disqualified. Okay, I'm going to come down here. You're saying there's some abnormal clefts in here. Well, there are no artificial clefts. That goes along with the scarring. Yeah, that's part of the scar. So that's an answer that's already been given, but it's a good answer. It's just not a new answer. Yes. The epithelium is flat. There are no cysts. Well, nor the epithelium. By epithelium, you mean this layer out over here, yes? Yeah. Okay. So there usually aren't any cysts in there anyway. But it's interesting you should mention the epithelium. And I'm going to come back and talk to you. That's a half a prize. Can we get a half a prize? All right. No. He says no. Half a can.